And now it's time for us to discuss more of these headlines and simple keywords with Adam joining us via Zoom. Good morning, Adam.
Well, good morning, Lena, and happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday to you too. All right. Let's jump into.
Yeah,
Yes, no?
sorry, I was just going to
What's
say
that?
it's nearly Friday and I'm excited, but I say that every week and I'm sounding like a broken record. So.
No, broken records are fine. I think we do this
Yeah,
dance every week, and it's
yeah,
nice that there is an end to something and a
yeah.
beginning to something. And we try our utmost best to try to make Mondays less painful.
Yes, exactly.
All right. All
Try to
right.
anyway.
On this glorious Friday Eve, let's get started. We have a few headlines to cover, and this is our first pick of the day.
Yoon in Doha.
So President Yoon has met with the leader of Qatar on his second day in Doha to discuss boosting bilateral ties. Many economic and business deals have also been made. What's the latest on this front?
Right, so it's pretty much a similar story in Qatar that it was in Saudi Arabia. So basically, the trip to both countries is focused on economy and businesses deals that have been made. Now, in the summit, they agreed to upgrade bilateral relations to a comprehensive strategic partnership. They agreed to do this by expanding cooperation from the conventional energy and construction to the defense industry and other fields. That was kind of a similar pledge and wording that was made in the meeting with the Saudi Crown Prince. Now, in particular, the leaders agreed to expand the scope of bilateral cooperation across the LNG value chain, which will stabilize Seoul's gas supply in the face of the highly volatile energy market internationally. Now, as part of that agreement, Hyundai Heavy Industries of Korea and Qatar Energy signed a near $4 billion deal to build 17 LNG carrier vessels. That's actually the largest single deal in Korea's shipbuilding in history. Now, Korea aims to increase its LNG partnership with Qatar and also expand its presence in the global LNG carrier market. Now, there had been a bit of a slump in Korea's shipbuilding market, and Korea is well known for their LNG carriers, and so they're picking up in demand, and Korea is certainly grabbing a pie of that. Now, both sides also signed 12 MOUs and contracts worth $4.6 billion in areas like smart farms, as well as cultural content, medicine, finance, and emerging industries. Along with the economic partnerships, the leaders decided to strengthen their strategic cooperation by building communication channels for diplomacy and national security to match their comprehensive strategic partnership. And they also signed an MOU on defense cooperation and military supply. The two countries agreed to exchange information related to the defense industry and set up a joint committee. Does that pave the way to an arms deal? That's yet to be confirmed. Now, Yoon will wrap up his 6-day visits to Saudi Arabia and Qatar by leaving Doha late Wednesday. So he certainly has his eyes on the Middle East when it comes to especially economic cooperation. It's no news that the Middle East has a lot of quote unquote oil money, and any deals with them, of course, does benefit Korea a great deal, and because they certainly have the capital to invest here in Korea as well. So we'll have to see if it does end up being mutually beneficial.
Right.
But there you have it. Yoon being on the sales pitch diplomacy trail once again.
All right. With that, we move on to our second keyword of the day.
Cattle disease spreads.
So there seems to be a concentrated effort to curb the lumpy skin disease. Korea's central and local governments, along with livestock farmers nationwide, are working to curb the spread. They are on high alert as concerns grow over the disease spreading. As we've said, it can't jump from animals to humans, yet it does have a tendency to wipe out cattle if it does infect a large herd.
Yeah, that's right. It is certainly ringing alarm bells for the quarantine and health authorities. The government says LSD has been spreading to regions and has been confirmed in regions including Gyeonggi, Gangwon, Incheon, North and South Chungcheon, promising emergency measures to prevent its spread. There are about 30 cases nationwide as of yesterday in farms. Now, in an attempt to contain the outbreak, around 1,000 cattle from farms where LSD-infected cattle were bred have actually been culled. Korea plans to initiate a nationwide vaccination program. The goal is to complete it by early next month. The Agriculture Ministry says it will urgently secure 4 million doses of vaccines, including about 1.3 million by Saturday and then another 2.7 million more by next Tuesday. Now, authorities predict that if the vaccination is complete, the situation over the LSD situation might subside after the middle of next month because the antibodies will be formed about 3 weeks. Now, local governments are also joining the efforts to contain the spread of the disease. South Chungcheong province, where the first case was reported, is supporting the Nongyap Korea Cow Improvement Office, which manages about 2,500 cows, including 150 bulls that produce frozen semen for 97% of Korean native cattle farms nationwide, and it has completed vaccination for all cattle. Gyeonggi province is strengthening patrols over the region to preemptively spot infected cattle and push for early vaccination. Pyeongtaek, which was actually where the first case was found in Gyeonggi province, the province after South Chungcheon, is operating a quarantine countermeasures headquarters around the clock, 24 hours a day, and it set up full control posts over the region. South Gyeongsang province and South Cholla province are actually the two provinces where LSD hasn't been found yet, and they are taking preemptive measures to block the inflow of the disease to those provinces. Yes, and as you said, it's not contagious to humans, but it, of course, does affect cattle quite a lot, and it can actually lead to death. But of course, yeah, this has caused economic kind of repercussions as well. The average wholesale price, for example, of Korean beef has risen by more than 10% in a week due to the outbreak of the disease. So if you're a fan of Hanu like I am, it just means eating Hanu beef at restaurants will get even more expensive if they weren't expensive already, which is unfortunate because, you know, it's everything else is, you know, inflation has caused prices to go up for everything else, beef and pork being the same, and just there's no good news of any of this price stabilization happening. It just keeps going up, unfortunately.
Not to make light of the situation, but is that a sign for both you and I to rely more on vegetables? Affordable vegetables.
It's affordable vegetables, but I was about to say even vegetables are getting so expensive now. So
the less attractive, the beaten up potatoes, that's much more cost friendly.
that is, I guess. But yeah, I have cut down a lot of meat actually, and have increased my intake of vegetables. So I am going greener than I used to be.
All right. Nonetheless, we'll keep a close eye on the lumpy skin disease and the government effort to contain it. Let's move on to our third keyword of the day.
Crowd crush anniversary.
So we're a week out in marking that 1 year anniversary since the Itaewon tragedy. And ahead of this 1 year marker of a deadly Itaewon crowd crush, the government is putting in more stringent safety measures to prevent a repeat of last year's tragedy. There has been a lot more efforts, not just here in Seoul, but different parts of the country where any events that attract larger crowds, it seems that they have more safety related personnel, for instance.
That's right. I mean, yeah, these kind of incidences or possible scenarios where large crowds could be in danger, they're not isolated to Seoul and the capital. I mean, there are events and festivities and festivals and celebrations happening all over the country in major cities and in rural areas as well in Korea. One thing about Korea, as a culture, is a lot of Korean people like to gather around and congregate for certain events, and so that does cause problems and possible risks. So yes, the matter is being looked at a national level. Now, the Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, in a meeting to discuss safety measures, emphasized that no matter how good the systems and policies may be, they are useless if they do not work properly on the field. Now, he underscored the need to continuously check and improve the measures. And he also emphasized the need to ensure that officials responsible for disaster management strengthen their expertise and work diligently, as well as to systematically train for disaster preparedness. And he also urged local governments to create disaster safety systems that are tailored to the characteristics of each region. It's all well and good having a blanket system in place, but if it's not um, suitable or customized to certain regions, then it does prove to be useless. Now, a series of intensive crowd management measures will be implemented in Seoul's Itaewon, Hongdae, and Myeongdong areas, as well as Dongseungdo in Daegu from Friday to next Thursday. Now, these four districts are expected to attract the biggest crowds during the upcoming Halloween weekend. An expanded number of emergency rescuers and ambulances will also stand by in these areas to prepare against any emergency situation. Other measures involved a more technological one, where an AI-backed network of nearly 1,000 CCTV cameras designed to detect and alert against dangerous crowding will be set up. About 150 volunteers actually already participated in the dry run of an early warning system. These are some of the measures being put in place, but some experts have actually voiced some concern that most of them have been kind of hastily put together, and that some of them might prove a bit ineffective as well. So even the measures have faced a bit of controversy and a bit of scrutiny, but we'll have to see how it plays out. And the Interior Minister Lee Sang-min has vowed to not make a repeat of the tragedy of last year.
In Social Media Minute, we might get a closer look at apparently an AI-powered system for better crowd control. We'll see if that could be one of the many solutions. Let's move on to our fourth keyword of the day.
Few students.
So the number of babies born in Korea in the month of August this year plummeted to the lowest level in nearly 3 years. What's the latest on that demographic?
Yes, probably a low birth rate should have been a better key word there, but it does affect the schools, which I'll get onto in a little bit. But Statistics Korea said a total of nearly 19,000 babies were born in August. That's down nearly 13% from a year earlier. It does mark the steepest on-year decline since November 2020, where the number of childbirths dipped 15.5%. It also marks the lowest figure for any August since related data was compiled back in 1981. The figure had actually never sunk below 20,000, so it marks the first in that milestone as well. Now, record low births, they have been reported every month of this year. Of all the major cities and provinces, North Jeolla province was the only region that displayed an increase in the number of newborns. And coupled with this, the number of marriages also declined to 14,610 and in August. That's down 7% on year. The number of deaths also rose in August as well. And with all of this together, the August tally resulted in a natural decline in population by just over 11,500. As the low birth rate deepens, it has been revealed that this year, 164 elementary, middle, and high schools nationwide did not actually hold entrance ceremonies because there were simply no new students to hold the ceremonies for them. So it just goes to show that it does have ripple effects, not only in economically speaking, but in basically nurturing our next generation, the future generation of people who will be economically active. So, yeah, we could see many schools closing down because they just simply don't have enough students to uphold them.
All right. What does this mean for faculty, for example, regional development? It does have a lot more ripple effects. We've been warned, and it seems that we're seeing the early signs of the big changes there.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to our final keyword of the day.
Ground attack.
So Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says his country is preparing a ground invasion of Gaza, as he has said before. Now, this comes despite pleas from the U.S. to hold back and many other leaders across the West. What's the latest?
Yeah, so he was speaking in an address to the nation on Wednesday evening local time. He declined to provide any details on specifically the timing or any other information about the operation that he said that he'll carry out. He only said the decision on when forces would go into Gaza would be taken by the government's special war cabinet. He added that Israel has already killed thousands of terrorists, and this is only the beginning. So he's certainly adamant on the fact that he wants to continue possible attacks on Gaza. Now, his remarks come amid a large deployment of Israeli troops at the Gaza border, as well as a buildup of US military assets in the region. Netanyahu also said the security lapses that led to Hamas's October 7th attacks would come under scrutiny, and he said that he himself would also be called to account. Now, the US has asked Israel, Joe Biden specifically has asked Israel to hold off on its ground invasion so it can better develop its military plans, as well as allow humanitarian aid to get into Gaza, and as well to try and get as many of the 200 plus hostages that are being captive as possible. There are many as 10 American citizens believed to be among them as well, hence why the US is urging for a little bit of a hold back on the ground invasion. And amid this, aid is also struggling to get to victims as well. And there's also a lack of supplies for those that need it.
All right. Thank you very much, Anna, for today's coverage. We'll see you tomorrow on Friday.
See you tomorrow on Friday. Looking forward to it.
If you're listening to our program using the podcast service, just a reminder that we do go live Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Korea Standard Time. So tune in and help us make the show more informative by giving us your input. See you bright and early on Good Morning Seoul.